Hey everybody, this is pretty unprofessional. Probably should call it the fan, but fuck it. Yes, I'm in my boxes, don't ask me any fucking questions. Today we're going to talk about Etika. Because the man, technically I don't think the man died today, I think his body was found today. More than likely he probably died like a day or two ago. Not really the point of the video, honestly. Etika, or Desmond, which was what his real name was found today. His body was found in the river, the Brooklyn, I believe, under the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe. And I'll be real with you, it's not like, I've never been like what I would consider like a super fan of Etika. Like, I enjoyed the reactions like most of the casuals on his channel did, but like, it was never on some next level shit, right? But I would say his death fucked me up a little bit more than I expected it to today because of kind of the things that preceded it. For example, I'm probably running off of maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep right now. And this is due to a very serious conversation we were having last night on Discord about mental health, ironically enough. So the shit was super fresh in my mind about mental health and the importance of having like a support system and not trying to deal with this shit by yourself. Because the mind is fucking dangerous. So I had that conversation late at night. We went to sleep, and then ironically enough, I had just watched Etika's the whole "I'm sorry" video, the video that's been taken down because of copyright. I mean, not because of community guidelines. I'm sorry, that's what I mean to say. Because it's essentially a suicide note. It's like a suicide video. That's really what it is. Him killing himself in the video is literally him talking, pretty much apologizing and then admitting that he didn't want to kill himself, and then now, boom, this is what happens. I watched all that, and then I like fucking in the middle of the day today, boom, see the police Twitter talking about we found his body, and it's like, shit. But I'm also not gonna sit up here and pretend like I was like overly close with Desmond. I knew him as Etika, and that was the interaction I had with him. I watched a few reaction videos, maybe caught a stream or two, and kind of kept up for the most part with the little recent drama that had been going on with him since last year, I believe. But I wasn't super invested, and then all of a sudden, boom, the man's dead. And there's been a lot of talk today. Obviously, people trying to respect his memory, a bunch of art, a bunch of kind words to not only him, but to his family, and the legacy he left on YouTube and in people's hearts, and what he, as a content creator and as a person, did. But there's also been a lot of anger to the system of how death is treated, and the fact that people lost their head. I mean, everyone's just, this is a lot of knee-jerk first reactions, how I cope shit. So I'm kind of excusing everything for the most part, but it doesn't mean I don't want to have a conversation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was overly close, so I'm not going to sit here, but I am the kind of guy who tends to analyze shit. It's just in my nature. So I kind of want to have a conversation because I think his life and his situation is a conversation worth making. Like he mentions in the video, something along the lines of he hopes his story helps people. But the problem is that the story needs to be told, or the conversation needs to be had about him. And I don't think it's as easy or cut and dry as a lot of people are thinking. But of course, everyone's in mourning right now. So of course, I'm not expecting no fucking high tier caliber analysis video. But I just want to talk about it. This is the way I deal with it, because I'm not like sad. Obviously it's a shame, but this, ironically enough, I think this is just the extreme case what happens with a lot of high profile entertainers. This happens with movie stars and actors all the time, and YouTubers are no different because they're still public figures after a certain point. So I would say the majority of us, the ones who are mourning his death, didn't really know the real Etika. I would say the majority of us never knew Desmond, is actually what I should say. the way when I looked at Etika before he died, my thought process was always the same. That Etika is like an exaggerated version of him. Like, Etika isn't the real Desmond. I mean, obviously he's based in Desmond because he created Etika, but like, that's not him. And the reason why you can tell that's not him is if you go back and look at his old videos, the ones before the Etika World Network and actually just before the Smash Brothers stuff, like back before 2013, I would say, you can tell that it's almost not even the same person in some ways. And honestly, I think it was a classic case is that he created Etika. Etika became more of an entity as things moved forward. Meaning when he blew up off of the Smash Brothers thing and he got like overly excited, and then he pretty much tried to maintain that energy moving forward. And think about it, the Smash Brothers stuff with Mewtwo was back in what, 2013, 2014? That was like what, 5 or 6 years ago. And he's been maintaining that version of himself consistently throughout those 6 years. 5 to 6 years. And that shit takes a toll on you because it's not like he's still not Desmond, but when you are constantly putting on faces and shit, and the Etika face is on more and more, you start to lose a lot of yourself. It's probably one of the reasons why when he was putting out those crazy tweets talking about he was going to kill Etika, because he doesn't view Etika as him. He views Etika as a part of him, but not him. Etika had become too much of him. That was probably the main issue. Etika is like, it's pretty much like a form of schizophrenia where you create like a separate personality. And then the problem is that personality holds too much weight. Even in the I'm Sorry video, he goes, he's being a bitch nigga because he doesn't want to deal with the consequences. And he apologized. Like, a lot of people acted like, some of the people who are angry currently are angry because they feel that you got a bunch of people who were trolling him and egging him on and weren't trying to help him. But and that was the problem. That there weren't enough people trying to help him. But like I think Shofu said in his tweet, there were people in the background that we never knew about that were obviously talking to him. Like, you can tell there was shit going on in the back we never saw. So I don't believe that he didn't recognize. Actually, he mentions in the video, I think he recognized 100% he had people. I think he didn't want to deal with the consequences of being better. He even says it. He says, I'm too afraid to deal with the consequences. Etika didn't want to deal, well, actually what I should say is Desmond did not want to deal with the reality of getting away from Etika. Because the moment you do that to him, Etika made him. That's probably the worst thing. When you already had like issues as a person, and then you blow up off of this version of you. And then that version's the only version people know and see. And Twitter and the community he raised. He raised that toxic ass community. And now you have to deal with the consequences. You have a community who runs off of fucking memes and shit. To be fair, the internet is just like that in general, but it wasn't like he was promoting like this chilled out community. Etika, if you notice, that's probably the reason why I always thought it was like, and the reason why I always felt a certain way about Etika is because Etika comes off as unhinged a lot. Like, his older videos, he seemed super unhinged. And that's how Etika always was, like, unhinged. Desmond wasn't unhinged, and that was kind of the thing. That's why things started escalating the deeper he got into the Etika lifestyle. And then I think it became a situation of, like, he wanted to break away from Etika, and he couldn't. I think part of it was he didn't want to do it, and then he wanted to do it, but he couldn't do it. And then he realized he doesn't think he could live without him. I think that's what it was. I don't think he could live without Etika. I feel like that's the problem. And of course, you got people who are angry at how the shit works. Where people will mourn his death for a certain amount of time, and then afterwards, it'll go back to normal. But the problem is that's kind of what needs to happen anyway. You don't. To me, you never are supposed to dwell on death. Obviously, you remember the person, and you keep that memory in your head, and you try to become a better person based off of the final things that they may have said, or the things that, or the kind of person you thought they were, or the person you wanted to strive to be. That's what you do, of course. But you're not supposed to dwell on the death. Is he gonna get memed? Of course he is. Etika is going to be what he was, and it's also just a reflection of his community. That Etika shit was very memed and very trollish and very dark and edgy humor. On some fucking rebel shit. That's going to happen regardless of what people want to pretend like. And some people would say that's fucked up. I'm like, that's the world we live in. Like, I've always been the kind of the guy who recognized that human beings, we are the worst creatures on this fucking planet. Like, that dead ass to me is something I inherently believe. We are the worst creatures on this planet. And the moment I accept that, nothing really surprises me anymore. I still get bummed out because, you know, if you're trying to be a good person, but we are a fucking mess. So I fully expect there to be Etika memes and all this ridiculous shit. But if the people he touched if he really made an impact on the ones he touched, guess what? His spirit will carry on anyway. But I think honestly the Etika Desmond thing is it was the huge point of contention. He went too deep as Etika. And when he tried to pull himself out, he realized he couldn't handle it. He seems like you gotta remember, I think he's even mentioned, it's been a while since I watched it. But I remember he was so hungry when he was like first starting and he was trying to get in to that YouTube scene. Remember, he was trying to be like a news channel. You remember that? That's what the Etika World Network was. It was like a news channel. That was his initial like shtick. Like, he wanted that YouTube lifestyle so bad, yo. And Etika was the way he got it. But man, the Etika lifestyle is not the lifestyle for like, no one should be going as hard as Etika seemed like he was going. And it showed. I mean, the fact that like in some the videos that aren't his, he was super like chilled out and shit. Like, that in itself should have been kind of a note that, yeah, Etika isn't like, that was the moments of Desmond. You didn't see him off, you saw him less and less as time went on. And and unfortunately, it's a very standard YouTuber thing. You build yourself up on this character, and this character ends up ruling you to the point that you become dependent on that character or that variation of you. And for a lot of people, some people can transition out of that character or transition into like a growing version of themselves. Kind of like I think Boogie had a relatively smooth transition, but that's also because he never let that be the only thing he did. Like, it wasn't like Francis was the only thing you ever saw from Boogie's channel. You actually did see normal Boogie. But like, people who lived and died by that version of themselves, that exaggerated YouTube version, that shit is always doomed to a crash. It's always doomed to a crash. Actually, I think Alex C&D went through a similar issue. The difference is that some people crash and just kind of get off the internet. Some people crash and can transition back into normalcy. And some people crash and they don't get out of that fucking plane crash. They're just dead. That's the cold hard truth of it. Etika just happened to be the example of what happens when you can't walk away from that crash. That crash happens all the time with character YouTubers, the ones who only show that exaggerated version of themselves, and then start to live that lifestyle. And Etika, unfortunately, was a casualty of it. It was I knew he was gonna crash as a YouTuber in general. I just didn't think it would lead to his death. But that if nothing else, is just another fucking reminder that this YouTube shit ain't no fucking game. Like, and don't worry about monetization. This channel isn't even monetized, so the video can't be monetized. Also, I'm talking about suicide and death. I think it's gonna get demonetized just off of principle. If you were truly touched by what Etika did as a person, then try to carry on the memory that isn't in a way meme worthy. I think the memeing of Etika that is bound to happen. Like Etika, that's unfortunately a part of his community. But if he touched you as the kind of person he was, like in terms, like if Desmond touched you, that will show in your actions moving forward. But this shit's gonna happen. But I also want to acknowledge that, like, trying to say fuck you to all these kids who took a bet. They thought, oh, this is Etika on some bullshit ass stunt, and people get tired of it. That wasn't wrong. I think that needs to be said too. The kids who fucking sat there and looked at him having his little fits and shit said, you know what, fuck this. This is ridiculous. He's just being ridiculous now. And they just said, fuck it, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. Those people aren't wrong for that decision, right? Because at the time, that's what you do to a channel who ain't doing what you want them to do, or aren't entertaining you anymore, right? That's their right as a viewer. Just like how the YouTuber doesn't owe the viewer shit, the viewer doesn't owe the YouTuber shit, like, at all. And people gotta understand, that is like one of the worst things to say to some kids who made a fucking mistake, right? They took a bet and thought he was bullshitting. Turns out he wasn't. So now, if I'm 14, 15-year-old who used to be an Etika fan but was sick of his shit, so just start fucking with him on Twitter because you were just tired of him feeling like he was ignoring his fans, and then you find out that not only were you wrong, but the guy that you initially loved so much is dead, and then his friends, who you probably are subscribed to because of the inner circle, just said doesn't want to be associated with you either. That is just as bad, in my opinion. How do you, I can't even imagine dealing with that shit. If I was 13 and I said fuck one of my favorite actors because I was sick of his shit as a person, and only to find out that he committed suicide like a few days later, and then to hear from another actor you enjoy says all you people are fucking garbage, and you know he's talking to you, on top of the implication that you think that in your mind the wheels start turning, you start thinking maybe I was partially responsible for it because of the bullshit I pulled. That's a lot to weigh on a person's mind at once. That's like a fucking wave hitting you at once. That's why I said this aggression, I get that a lot of people are just lashing out because that's what they're dealing with, right? But, like, don't throw that on these kids, yo, because that's a lot. That's some heavy, that's traumatizing, bruh. You don't understand. Well, you might understand. Motherfuckers make mistakes, and sometimes that shit leads to people's deaths. Unfortunately, that is not an uncommon thing. That a person makes a mistake, and that mistake leads to someone's death. That's a reality that fucking doctors deal with on a daily basis. That if you fuck up, that's someone's life. It's the same situation here. I'm 13 years old on Twitter, just posting memes and shit because my favorite YouTuber Etika is posting memes. And I think the way I can get his attention is to do the ridiculous shit that he was doing. Then you get tired of his shit, so you start posting memes about him. A few days later, oh, he's dead. That's a shock to the fucking system, yo. And then on top of that, oh, well, I really like Omni. And Omni's like, fuck you people who thought he was lying. And you're just like, shit. That is a lot. That's so heavy. And it's so much. Too quick, yo. It's too quick. On top of the internal implications in your mind where you're thinking, did I cause this somehow? The shit is delicate, so you gotta handle this shit the right way. But to me, it's like, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm overly connected. This is just the things I see, and I'm the kind of guy who always likes to read into it. Whether it's smart or not, that's just the way I am. But I will say, that's the reason why this YouTube life is not a game. Do not sell yourself on a false version of yourself, because that shit can ruin you. And you've seen it. It'll either kill the channel eventually, it'll kill you where you burn out and just don't want to do it anymore, or worse, It destroys you completely and you feel like you can't live without it. And then don't see you anymore. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. R.I.P. to Mr. Desmond, Etika. You will be missed, as seen on Twitter. We'll see how much of that amounts to anything new, but I hope that people's actions in the future will honor your final wishes of hoping that people learn from the story, from your story, and don't make the same mistakes. But yeah. Anyways, this has been the Vlogs Game from your boy Terrell, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out. Fine. And for the sake of it, we out here representing Joy! Actually, I should have just got... I actually have Joy-Cons but in the fucking things. You know what? Fuck it. Fine. This is very unprofessional, but I feel like this is the time. I never co-signed on it. And I'm not going to be the dude who changes his Twitter handle and all this other shit. But I will do it for the video because it is important to show the respect when it's due. And the nigga deserves respect regardless of what you think of him. I'm out here representing the Joy-Con boys in my boxers because Etika love walking around in his motherfucking boxers. Oh shit. Hopefully we'll see each other in the future and see what happens. Get your thoughts and opinions on the state of the world after the next, hopefully for me, like 50, 70 years, but we'll see. Later days, dude. Later days.